you know, it's way up there. So if you could save even 100 square feet by better plan layout times $200, well, that's $20,000.
Yeah.
So it's important that way. Now the next thing is, how is the home situated? How are you in relation to the sun? And there's two reasons why you want the house to face south. And I'm going to show you here a little bit, a little demonstration here on this. There's two reasons. One, if the main windows are facing south, that means they're not facing west or east or north. And west-facing windows are particularly bad in a house because in the afternoon in the summertime, if you have big windows there, a rough rule of thumb is every patio door facing west means that you've got to have a 5,000 BTU air conditioner to handle the overheating that results from that. So I'm just going to move now to the to my little display here, if you bear with me. And I'll pass this around. This is some thermal mass, but the water's not in there right now. So this is my little model here. And just not to confuse you all, I'll keep the same orientation. We'll assume this is south facing here. And you may wonder, why am I using a banker's box? As we've seen from the United States, the people who make the most money off housing are the bankers. So that's in honor of their presence. So here's an example here of a house, and in general you want the windows to be facing south. And if you live in Australia and you're in say southern Australia or New Zealand and you want heating there you want to be facing north because you're below the equator. And what happens if you live on the equator? Well, usually if you're on the equator, you're not worried about solar heating because it's already warm. But there are some areas. I did some mountain climbing on Mount Kenya. Ron here has been on Mount Kilimanjaro, and it gets cold when you get up around 15,000 feet. So it turns out in the when you're right on the equator, you have to basically there you want the windows facing upwards. But so the rule of thumb is you always want them facing towards the equator for that. So here's the house design here, and I've got a little energy efficient sun here that I will. So again, this is a light emitting diode. It says 3.5 watts of electricity, and it's so strong that it's annoying, isn't it? Pointing to you right here. And each one of these little lights here is an individual diode, and they're roughly about 1/10 of a watt each. And let's see if we can burn out that sensor on the camera. But it's amazing here when you know, with only 3.5 watts of light, you can see here how well these work. And the price is coming down. I remember the first one we bought 7 or 8 years ago, and it was about $50 for one of these lamps. And I saw the other day the ones for sale for $13. So, you know, the price is coming down with volume production. And how does the sun move in relation to a house? Well, let's take an example here. And I think if we could have the lights go down, are these overhead lights? Yeah. Okay. So today is January 4th. And where does the sun move on January 4th? Well, it rises somewhere over here in the morning. And then it travels over here in an arc. And then at noon, it's about 14 degrees above the horizon. 14 degrees above the horizon. And then it sets over here at about 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And Saskatoon it's kind of an odd thing because normally the sun is highest around 12 o'clock. But Saskatoon is actually on permanent daylight savings time. So we're actually, the sun should be symmetric around your time at noon. But here actually it's 1 o'clock in the day is the time when the sun is highest. And they're arguing about should we or should we not go on daylight saving time. Well, we already are on daylight saving time. So this is what happens in January. It starts out here, January, and then sweeps around here like this, and then sets over here like that. And we only get, this time of year, about 7 hours of daylight. Now let's go to September 21st or March 21st. Those are the equinoxes. Equinox means equal night, equal day. So on that day of the year, the sun rises up exactly in the east. It comes, and it's rising much higher in the sun right now, much higher in the sky rather, and then sets exactly over in the west and goes down over there. And then on the longest day of the year, which is June 21st, we get about 20 hours of daylight a year. So the sun rises way over here, way up in the northwest, and sweeps up here. It's quite a bit higher in the sky, comes way up here, and then goes and sets way over here. And you notice here, if you've got a west-facing window in the summertime, there's a lot of exposure to the sun over that period here. And again, I mentioned on December 21st, the shortest day of the year, the sun is only 14 degrees above the horizon. But on June 21st, it's 61 degrees above the horizon, so it's way up here. And one of the things we can do is use that fact here in terms of shading our windows. And I'll use this as our overhang on the house here. So here's, let's take the example in the summertime. At 12 noon on June 21st, the sun is way up about here. So you can see how the windows are shaded by the effect of the overhang on here. And you'll note that the taller the window, like this window here or door, the greater the overhang that you need to fully shade it. And but in the wintertime, the sun is way down here, and the shading doesn't block the sunlight. Now there's other ways of providing shading on your windows. You can buy exterior Venetian blinds. There's a few houses in Saskatoon that have it. You can also buy roll down shutters that go on here. But certainly the simplest and the least noticeable way of getting this is just to have an overhang on things. And a rough rule of thumb is the overhang on a standard height window should roughly be about 2 feet sticking out to provide, you know, in the summertime you've got good shading on windows that aren't too tall, and yet in the wintertime you've got full sun into the home. And that's a thing here. The other big advantage of this orientation I've mentioned here, in the summertime the sun is still quite high, and it can really belt a lot of heat into this west-facing window here. And it also does the same in the morning on the east-facing window. And I've often seen this in apartment buildings with west-facing windows. People will actually put aluminum foil on the window to try to stay, you know, comfortable without running a lot of air conditioning. And every patio door that you have facing west, if you want to stay comfortable, you have to put a 5,000 BTU per hour air conditioner to handle that cooling load from the thing. So that is my banker's demonstration here, and